OK，来走。
一起滑啊，就是星球
哦，土星环，
对对，土星环，但它已经有人做了。
这个很多，没有想法啊。对啊。
谢谢大家，当下。
知道，台湾还是需要这种独角兽的产业，因此，在未来，所以。
Each candidate has their different policies vis-a-vis China and vis-a-vis the rest of the world. And that, I think, is one of the very important issues for the people to deliberate. Then, of course, we look at the domestic issues. With the high inflation, with the rising real estate prices in the housing market, with the young generation trying to look for their existence, how the domestic policies of each candidate would be able to make people feel that, you know, their next year it was going to be much better than this year. The next decade was going to be much better than this decade. So I think, you know, the candidates put forward their platforms domestically, which I think are of equal, if not more importance than its cross-strait policies or than its you know, foreign policy and its Taiwan's stance in existence in the international arena. Normally, when Chinese leaders make an open remarks on the Taiwan's election or the choices of the Taiwan people, or to define what this Taiwan election means. For example, the election of choice between war and peace, and that rhetorics will only deteriorate the relationship between the people in Taiwan and people in China, and that will not help the peaceful communications between two sides of the strait. China has repeatedly mentioned that it's going to be a critical moment between the day of the election and the inauguration day, which is May 20, and there will be a period of 4 months. And then we'll look into that as to how we're going to work with Beijing and how we're going to reinforce the people-to-people exchanges and how we're going to work with the like-minded countries and how we're going to continue to keep a peace and stability of Taiwan Strait.
Ready, close. Ready, shut. Ready, face. Forward.
China's relationship with the rest of the world, particularly the U.S.-China relationship, is continued to be the biggest at stake for China. Number two, China has been facing very challenging domestic issues, both political and economic, and some social issues and problems. China would really need to find ways to come up with a better governance, a way to govern the huge country of 1.4 billion people. So I think China will try to find ways to work out its relationship with the major powers, other major powers, while we're continue to make a better governance domestically. And I don't think China has any incentive, if acted reasonably, to make a big fuss based on the outcome of the Taiwan election during that critical period of time.
Certificate apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw it on.
Right after the election, both Taiwan administration and Washington will and should make multiple assurances to China that status quo, U.S. one China policy, and Taiwan's basic and fundamental principles of maintaining the status quo would not change. And nothing is changed after the election, so that China would have no excuse, no miscalculations or misinterpretations in reaction to the outcome of the election or the new administrations. And so that, I think that assurances, both from Washington and Taipei, play a critical role, but then also Beijing would need to exercise with restraint. If William Lai wins, it's going to be the successor of Tsai Ing-wen, not just the nominal successor. I think its platforms and policies will be identical, will be similar to enough, will be even identical to that of Tsai Ing-wen. So I would not envision from his policy and administration the big change in the change in direction, both domestic and the foreign policies. If Hou Yu-ih wins, it's going to be a wild ball, a curveball. We don't know what his policy is because KMT is highly divided within itself. That there are different factions or different groups of people that believe in different platforms, both domestic policies and particularly the cross-strait policies. Now, how Hou Yu is going to be able to put together, to harmonize, to make sure that he will continue to run the big administration, and that remains to be seen. China's going to continue to push hard and harder on his administration, same as Washington.
不求战，更重要的，我们要向全世界保证。
Kowenja's going to try to make sure that he can continue to have a conversation, at least with Beijing, which is a big problem, which is a big challenge. And Washington will have some doubt on what he stands for and his ability and his willingness to run the government And I think it will be a big curveball, and I think there will be lots and lots of uncertainties in the days to come.
来为他们加油。